today, and I thought it'd be really lovely if we looked at some flowers, just because I think that with the right techniques and the right guides and advice, they're really quite simple to draw. So I hope that you find that too. Before we get into it, I wanted to just share 3 really cool books that I picked up just from the charity shop really, but that sort of inspires me when I'm drawing that you might want to go and find yourself. So the first one is just a little bit of collage. So it's called Collage Carnival, and it's really interesting. There's lots of different patterns and designs in there. So we're going to look a little bit about this today. And then one of my favourite ones is by Harriet de Winton, and she draws flowers and breaks that down really simply as well. So again, that might be something that you want to have a look at. And my final one is just a really old book that I picked up for about 25p, and it's Wildflowers, which is one of my favourite types of flowers because they're free. You can find them when you're out and about, and they're always growing in such difficult places. They always kind of make me laugh while they get into different nooks and crannies. So I'm just going to change my camera around so you can actually see what I'm going to be doing today. Hopefully you can see a lovely image of some poppies. I've got some flowers here as well. And this is just a normal sketchbook. So today what you're going to need is just a pencil. It'd be great if you could have an eraser on it, or if you've got a different eraser, that would be lovely, because we're going to be going over in some pen. I've just got a pen, any pen will do, black one, whatever colour that you've got, something a bit darker so that you can see the outline would be great. And yeah, so you just need to be able to see the screen and to have a sheet of paper. So what I thought we'd go through first is a little bit of a warm-up, and I always sort of reiterate this, that if you was doing anything, then you would tend to warm up first. So it would be great if we could think about drawing big circles. Now, it's really important that you loose with the way that you hold your pencil. So don't hold it too tight, hold it about midway up. And we're just going to draw, hopefully you can see that, just nice circles. So if you can draw along with me, that would be great. And these are just going to go into a little bit further later on, our guides. But if we loosen up now, it's going to be easier. And when you're drawing these circles, think about the movement coming from your shoulder. And that's really important to give you a little bit more control. So I'm going to go off this screen now, I think, but I'm just going to be doing the same things. So be as messy as you like, just warm up. Nice and slow, nice and steady, different size circles, ovals, but just a really nice movement so that we can get warmed up. And you're just going to fill that page. Okay, pretty simple for our first task. So what I'm going to introduce you to today is 9 different flowers. Hopefully we've got enough time to get through them all. And we're going to start with each flower having a drawing guide. So what I want to show you is the first one, which is a poppy. And if we look at anything in nature, or in fact any object really, what you'll find is that there's some sort of shape that we can pull from that. And the shapes we know as a circle, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, potentially a diamond, an oval. And these are really the generic shapes that we can see in most things. And if we look at the poppies in front of us, we can actually start to see shapes within that. So there's triangles, shapes, there's ovals, there's circles, and these are going to be our guide when we're drawing. So we've hopefully got warmed up, a little bit warmer, and we're really going to think about this first poppy here, what shape we can see. It's kind of this oval that's squashed at the bottom, and just do it quite lightly. You don't need to press really hard. And then we're going to just trace in the other one that's a little bit more rounded, and we're going to position it just underneath, just as we can see it on the picture. And then we've got this line that comes down. We can just draw that in quite faintly. And then we've got another poppy under here. So again, we just want a little oval. So very simple shapes at the moment. And there's another one that overlaps. And again, just a little oval. Okay. So I'm going to draw mine in pencil first, and then I'm going to go over it in pen so you can see it a little bit heavier. So the first thing that we need to do is start to draw in the petals, and we want to look for really a starting point. So here is just the bit where the petals overlap. So that might be a good starting point for us to add some detail in. Okay, hopefully you caught up, and we've got our circles and our squircles and our ovals and things all set up. So I'm just going to start to draw in the petals. Now, the trick to this is to have really wonky wavy lines, not too much, but just so it imitates the petal shape. So just wavy lines, and you just want to really be quite gentle. And what you want to do is just look for the shapes, and ideally you want to be concentrating more on the image than what you're actually drawing. So we're really concentrating on what it looks like. So just the top petal here, again, we'll just draw that shape in. So just lovely wavy lines, and I'll show you again with this one. So we want to start about halfway down. If we look at this petal, we're going to join it here, and we're going to look at the shape. Just going to do some nice wavy lines, and then here we've got another lovely little petal that overhangs. Connect it at the bottom, and then the final petal, so there's 3 in total. Just going to connect it, and I'm going to put that stem in there. Okie dokie. So we'll move on to the next one. We'll start at the bottom here. Lovely little jittery lines. Think about the shapes. Use that as a guide. Draw your first petal. And I'm going to leave the next one because that sits behind. So we'll move over to the next shape. Again, lovely little wavy lines. Not too perfect because they're all individual, they're all different. And then we want to draw this petal in behind. So we've only really got 2 petals here. That overlaps a little bit like that. Lovely. So we want to draw the stem in. And we've got a little bud as well, so we can even put a shape in for that so it's almost rectangular. A little top on. And just a nice little U shape under there. We can add the stem. And again, we're going to look for the stem here. Add the stem. Okay, so we're not going to go any more complicated than that. And now I'm just going to take a black pen just so you can see this a little bit better as well. And I'm going to start to outline. And don't forget, you know, this is pencil is great because it allows you to get a better idea of what you want to draw. And at this stage, when you're going over with it with your pen, you can actually change some of those shapes, make them a little bit more accurate or a little bit more wavy. Okay, so I'm just going over the petals. So we've got our first poppy and add the stem. So we just want 2 lines. Becomes really addictive as well when you start looking at flowers and you can actually see lots of different detail. You can see the little hairs on the stems. I don't know if you can pick that up there on the camera. Okay, we'll bring this down. And again, we're just revisiting our guidelines that we've drawn in. So we started with those big circles. And now we're just adding in the detail. And actually underneath there is a little petal. Again, just 2 lines for the stem.
And we'll move on to our third one. So this is, you know, a lovely little bunch of poppies. Even if you wanted to just do one, that's fine. Follow along and just do one. I'll leave it there. Nice and frilly, nice and loose. And this is why I think it's perfect, because it doesn't really matter kind of what shapes you're drawing, as long as they're frilly and can get away with it, because they're not perfect flowers. So we'll just add a final stem here, and then we'll look at our little poppy seed and just that U shape. This U shape. And then we're just gonna draw the stem in here and join up that last petal. So it's time now to get rid of all the pencil. So once you've traced over that, you just want to rub out all the pencil. It might make your lines look lovely and crisp and a bit clearer. You can actually see what we're working with a little bit better. You just want to take your time, and don't forget that your ink might be wet, so it's always great to start off on the area that you began, so that you're reducing the risk of smudging all your beautiful work. So we've got a lovely posy of poppies there. Now, to bring this to life, what's really useful is if we add in some shading lines. So what we want to do is just some really nice sweeping movements, just straight up. So just from that join there, I'm just doing some nice sweeping movements, just thinking about how the poppy looks, just looking at the lines and the direction that it's growing in. You don't have to add too many, you know, just whatever you think may work, and just pull the pen towards you to make some nice sweeping movements. And a really nice little tip to see where the shade is to squint your eyes, so you eliminate some of the light that's bouncing off in your environment wherever you might be sat. And so it helps you to concentrate on where the tone is, where the darker bits are. This is really therapeutic to just add some little dashes. So to show you here, just quick little lines. And the more that we add, the darker that it becomes, where you can even get to the point of filling it in quite dark to create that gradual shading effect. And really all it is just repeating and going over different areas. Okay, so we want to do the next petal. And the more time that you take on this, and obviously we've only got an hour for this session, but the more time that you take on this type of thing, the more depth you're creating. So it makes it look more realistic. And again, it's quite dark underneath here. And when I'm doing the shading, I'm just thinking about the way in which the flower grows. So I might do some to the left, some to the middle, and some to the right, just building up that colour, make it look more realistic. You know, keep going back to places, and it's always really good when you're drawing something, just take a step back, just have a little look back, see what's working, see what you want to change. And don't forget, this is only a practice. These are things that you're going to get absolutely better at, improve at. Yeah, it's just a little starting point for you to work from. I'm hoping that from drawing some little poppies, you might be able to go and find some things that really you want to explore. So maybe leaves or anything else that's outside, natural, lovely shapes. So just keep adding those lovely feathered little lines. And move to the final one. And it's nice because you can build it up so gradually that any errors and any mistakes really can be hidden, don't really count, which is always the best way. It's always my way to work anyway. The more that I can get away with when I'm drawing, the better. I might want to add a few lines in here. Just add a bit of texture. So texture is the way that it, you know, we could make it look like it feels. Add some lines to the top. So what I've noticed is as well, just looking, is there's some lovely little hairy stems. You can add some just little dots to those. Oh, I forgot our little seed. Add some more into that. Quite dark. And these areas that we're making dark as well will mean that we can really see clearly the different petals, the different areas of the flower, which is brilliant because we don't have to struggle to kind of make out what we're looking at. So it's really useful in anything. And as I say, these techniques don't have to just belong to flowers, you know, landscapes, different parts of the land. Maybe there's a field and a mountain behind that, you know, so the darker that we put something, the more contrast it gives us. Hopefully you'll be able to share your poppies with us too, so we can see what you've drawn, how you've got on. I'm just really looking for some of the darker areas now, maybe add a bit more in. But if you're anything like me, you could get carried away. You can sit here and then realise it's, you know, 2 hours have gone past. I'm going to try and get a few in to explore. Okay, so lovely, that's our first one. Now, if you want it to be a little bit extra, I have got some watercolours here. Just make sure that your pen is waterproof. If not, you know, that's no problem. You'll just have to be really careful when you paint. Or if you haven't got watercolours, then you could use pencils, colouring in pencils. Just add a little bit of colour to the work. So just use a pencil here to show you. Just colouring over it. After you've done your shade. You might like it black and white, you know, it's entirely up to you. It's your piece of work, it's your artistic interpretation. Absolutely feel free. to do what you like. Just a little bit of colour pencil. Or you might want to, that's a little bit, that's one of my favourite sounds, is when I hear a little paintbrush clanging against some water. I'm just laying this down quite randomly. Just adding a splash of colour in. Just to show you, if you haven't got them on you, but just to show you really how it would look. Okay, lovely. So that's our little poppy. That's right. Fantastic. So should we move on to our next flower? And again, you can continue to add detail to that if that's something that you'd like to do. So our next one, I thought it might be nice. I thought it might be nice if we drew some bluebells. These are one of my favourite flowers as well, just because I love how small and delicate they are, and that they kind of crop up anywhere. And we're going to use the same technique really. So the first thing that we do, I hope you're all saying, is our guide. And these are actually bell shaped, so it makes it really easy for us to continue that shape. But what we're going to think about is the way that the flowers are facing. So some of them are facing towards us, some of them are facing away from us. And it's just really about when we look at that, it makes it look more real. So if we did everyone facing towards us, it wouldn't look as realistic. So this is a perfect image. And if you're looking for something really good to draw that will come out, well, look for something that has lots of different options. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw our stem. So we're just going to draw a line straight down. Okay. And then we're going to draw our bell shape in. And we're going to draw another little one at the top. And another one. Kind of the top, tiny little flowers that are growing. Under this one, got another little bell shape. Now this one is facing a little bit more towards us, so I'm just going to make that small. And just really think about how the flowers are. So again, just using that guide, just putting a circle in there for the moment. Another little bell shape here. And again, that's facing us, so I'll put a circle in. Another one off to the right. We can't see that, so I'll leave it as a little bell. And it's just really thinking about, how does the image actually look? Is it a bell shape? Do I need to put a circle in here? Is the petals facing towards me or not? So actually this one at the bottom, showing off full centre. I've got another one here. So just work your way down using that line as your centre guide. And I'm just going to go up to that one really, just to keep it a little bit simpler. Now these bell shapes that we've drawn, I've not added any petals in, but really they're just little triangles. Some are facing towards us, some are facing away, got little curly ends on them. So draw the petals in. Again, keep using that as a guide. Don't forget wibble wobble lines, and don't keep it too perfect. We don't want to see perfect triangles. We want to see lots of different wobbly lines. And this one right in front, So you can see that dark stamen in the middle, the center of the flower. It's almost star-like, isn't it? And that is our basic bluebell shape. So again, I'm just going to outline it for you so you can see it really clearly. You might want to do this too. Yeah, and it might be that you want to move the shapes up. You might actually think, oh, it doesn't belong in that position. Just that little bell shape again. And all this really is getting you to think about your skills and observing what shapes can I see, you know, how can I identify and make this object a little bit more simple. Because it can be quite overwhelming when we look at things, especially flowers with all the different parts. But if we break it down, we can begin to see lots of simple shapes. So just keep going down, adding that stem in. And again, these wibbly, I don't even think that's a word, and I keep using it, wibbly lines, wiggly lines. Add them in. These little frilly ends are so lovely and delicate. Okay, and again, go to this one. And some petals are going to be smaller, so those that are facing you, facing the viewer, are going to be a lot smaller than the ones that are further away, facing on a different angle. So again, that just makes it so much more realistic. Just going around these shapes, nice and frilly, keeping it really loose, just adding the inside of that flower. And this is our last one. And just finish off with that stem. Now also on the bluebells, I hope you can see there's these lovely little seeds, little stamens that are popping out the middle. So this one here you can see, and it's just a line with a little dot that I'm drawing. The line with a little dot. You just about see this one here. Can't see that one there. Okay, lovely. And again, I'm just gonna erase the pencil line. Exactly the same method as a poppy. So we've put in our shapes, we've drawn around it in pencil, and now we're adding pen. And the next stage is add a little bit of shading. So what we're going to look for is some really tiny little lines that are going to complement this. So the bluebell actually kind of separates in little sections, which is really nice. So from the top, again, just those sweeping motions. Pull your pen down and add that little bit of shading. And you're the artist, you choose where you want it. You know, don't forget to squint, don't forget to look and see where's darker, where's lighter. It's a great technique to use. And we're just going to pull from the top down. And if you get stuck and you might need to turn your page, you know, do that. I might make it easier for you. It's got a little staving in there. Add that in. And this side. Just going to add in that to create that depth, and this will really separate our flowers too. I love bluebells. Lovely. You might want to add a little bit to the stem. Stem's a little bit thin there, so I can thicken it up. So you've just mastered the bluebell. And again, you might want to colour this in, paint, add a little bit of detail to that if that's something that you want to do. Yeah, so it might just be a little bit of colour. Just like that.
What?
Okay, and then we're ready to move on to the next one. Fantastic. Lovely. So our third flower is one of my favourites actually. My auntie just sent me some seeds down for this, and it does anybody know what it is? It is a cornflower. And again, this beautiful blue. Again, if you can see in, you know, normally they have them in sort of like hedges and fields. It's just a really pretty little flower. So we're going to concentrate on these two here. So we're just going to do two of them. And so going off the actual setup as we've done last time and using our guide, the first thing that we need to do is put in our shapes. So we can see two ovals here. So we'll draw them together just a little bit further down, actually, that one. And again, with this, you know, using pencil, there's absolutely no pressure on what it's going to look like at this stage. Now the top is really kind of this shape. So it's almost like a semicircle, but it's got rounded edges. There's like this like little squashed oval on the top. And this is another little oval. Somewhere coming out of that side there. Got the stems coming down. Okay. Now with this, I really enjoy drawing these. I think it is actually my favourite. But if we go to the start of at the top of the oval and we just draw some really curvy lines, just some really thin petals. It's very similar, I think, to a thistle. Have you seen that Scottish emblem, the thistle? It's very similar to that. And then what we want to do is start drawing in the petals. Now, if we start from the right-hand side and we just look at the shapes on the outside, it'll make it a little bit easier for you. And we're just looking at these lovely little triangular petal shapes. So just keep adding, and don't forget, you know, the waviness, keep it really loose. And just follow that guide that we've made. It's really fluffy, full flower, like messy petals. And we're going to start on the bottom one. So again, these very thin little petals that radiate out from the top. Some of them swoop down. We're just going to add some little wavy petals, and we're going to concentrate on these shapes on the outside, jaggedness, more than anything when we're looking at this flower. very different than the poppy, very different than the bluebell. Nice little scruffy flower. Okay, so we just added in those little triangles. And we'll go down to the actual stem now. So it's almost like pineapple. It's got these little scales on. Again, they're just little triangles that we can add in just very quickly. And we'll put the stem in. And the same for the other one. It's kind of pineapple-y shape, this spiky shape. Add some little triangles in there and put in the stem. So hopefully this is getting easier for you now, thinking about this concept of how do we actually begin to build up the focus of the flower, how it grows, what shapes you can see. And again, just go over it in pen, just to make it a bit darker. You could even go over it in the pen colour of the plant if you've got one near you, that'd be great. So if you wanted to go over it in the actual colour that it was, that'd be really good. You'll have no lines apart from the actual colour of the flower, that's an option. Or you don't have to go over it at all. You could even watercolour it, and then you would just have literally the paint. Yeah, so again, we're just following those guides. And you might think, oh, I'll add a couple more little scruffy petals in there. Okay, I'm going to go down to the stem now. Don't forget your shaky lines. And the stem. And we'll start with the second one. So just these really thin little petals. And then we're going to go on to these thicker triangular shapes. And again, if you want to switch your paper around, please feel free to do that if that's easy for you, whatever you like to do. So just these really nice little triangular bits you can pull forward and just pops out on the other side there. And then finally add in the section before the stem. We'll wobble that around a little bit. Make it really untidy, really messy in terms of your lines, that's fine. I love the cornflower for being a scruffy flower. We'll add that stem. Fantastic. So I'm just going to get rid of these lines so you can see it tidied up. Yep. Couple more there. And again, we're just going to add in some shading. Now, I think we'd be all here all night if we shaded every single petal. But what I would suggest is that the ones that you can see, to start adding those lovely little dashes in. Bit of texture. And again, look at the flower, and not all of the petals are so dark, you know, some of them are really lovely and light, so we wouldn't want to add any shade into those. Just want to try and make it look as realistic as possible, and every single petal is different, so we want to bear that in mind when we are Lovely. So just a couple of them I've added in there. So carried away with this, I almost forget that I'm doing a little webinar. Could just be sat just enjoying. And this gets quite dark at the top as well, so we can really add some tone into that. It stands apart. And again, don't forget, the more lines that you do that are closer together, the darker it looks. And then the lines that you do that are more sparse, that are further away, look lighter, and then even lighter, and then even lighter. So we can go, you know, gradually with some tone. And you can practice with that, and you know, it becomes easier the more that you practice. You know, it's a really good way of making things come to life. You can add a little bit down the stem tip. I'm going to start on this side. Just add very randomly where you like, just a few lines, dashes. There we go. Try that. And again, don't forget what I say about, you know, stepping back, have a look, see what it looks like from further away. Even I'm always used to leaning up against the side of the kitchen. I might make myself a cup of tea and watch something and go back in and come out and decide whether I like it or not. I just give myself a little bit of time away from it. Nice little trick. Sometimes you can get really close to some of your artwork. Okay. And if you've got all these on one page, I bet that it looks really striking now. All these different varieties of flowers. Beautiful. Stick. And so this is the cornflower. Lovely, another beautiful wildflower. So we've just got another 15 minutes left, and I can't believe where that's gone. Crazy time. So I think between the hibiscus or the lily or the daisy, I think we'll do the hibiscus flower. Just because it's bright and colourful, it's a nice one to finish off on. So it's a really beautiful flower, that long stem and that long stem right in the middle, these lovely yellow little bits of pollen that hang off the middle of the stem, and there's really beautiful little buds as well, lovely green flowers. So I think we'll concentrate on maybe just that top one first. So first things first, we need to get that shape. Nice oval shape, and with this, because it's such a prominent flower, such a it's facing us in such a way that it's not actually straight on, the center of it is here, so it's just off center from the circle. So if you just put it, I would say probably a third, so just towards the first third there, and that's going to act as our guide really then when we draw the rest of the petals. So again, wavy lines, nice and loose. Think about how you're holding the pencil, nice and loose. And add in your first petal. And then we're going to go around. So there's 5 petals that we need to fit in. A bit longer this side, so that oval's a lovely guide to help us. Brilliant. I would maybe actually look at this, make it a little bit further, and you can adjust yourself as you go along, you know. It's, as I say, a guide, you know, so you've probably done yours better than mine. Let's have a look. So, and then this is our final and fifth petal, and again it's shorter this side because it's closer to us. Sweep that round. Now for the middle, we just draw a line with a little curve on the end towards the end, and this has got, it's got 5 little ovals. I want to fit that in, and I would draw lines that come off, and we want to draw little circles around there too. Okay, so that really is a nice and simple hibiscus flower. So we'll go over it in pen as we do and make any changes that we see along the way. Don't forget those wobbly lines, keep it nice and loose, nice and frilly. And some of these are actually curled over, so if we just had a little line underneath, and really an easy way to add depth is to just grab one side and then a little curvy line. It looks like the petal is curled up, so we could actually create our own. So I'll show you again. So now we finish this petal. If we want to look like it's curled up, just add another curvy line to the outside. Really simple. So keep it nice and wavy. And this actually, the shape is a little bit different to what I drew originally, so carry on. Lovely. And then the final petal, nice wavy lines. I want to go on to the stem now. So just draw a nice little curve. You can connect those up to it. So just a little curve, just like that. A little half a C. And then you want to connect that up all the way to the top. Don't forget, just got a little bend right at the top. And then we want to draw in those 5 ovals. Connect that up. And draw over. It might be that you're not actually going over it in pen, but maybe you could give it a second go. And add these little details, these lovely little seeds, things that are popping off the stem, again is something that will give it its character. Okay, so I'm just going to erase the lines again so we can see what we're working with, get rid of some of this noise from the pencil, actually see some of the shapes. I'm just avoiding that middle at the moment just because I think I put a lot of ink down, so don't forget you don't really want to smudge it. I think it should be okay. Brilliant. And so we could really play with this because there's a lovely red section here. It's fantastic to add some tone to and really separate out the petals. And if we look at these lines that go all the way through the petals too, so we can spend a little bit more time on this, really getting, or if you wanted to, you can just use the colour that you can see, so a nice bright reddish pink, I would say, and just start on one petal and just slowly work your way up and think about how the petal is growing, you know, the way in which it's shaped. Instead of just drawing shading straight up, think about the way in which the petal grows, make it look more realistic. And if we look at that shading, you know, and where it stops here, you know, that's really what we want to try and do as well with our own work. And bring it up to the point where we can see it in the image. Okay. I'll keep going. Might add some more shading throughout. Just some nice gentle little lines. And this is where it's really going to make that stamen come to life, because if we add some shading behind it, it'll bring it really forward to the viewer, and it'll give us an idea of where it goes to. Just gonna add some little lines, and then don't forget, actually on the stamen there's some nice lovely little bits of shading. We don't want to make it too dark that we are blending everything in together. So I think this is one of my favourite ones actually from the session today. Nice little simple flower. There's a lovely little effect with adding depth through this. And as I say, all of this can be translated into any flower that you choose. You know, I think that probably one of the most complicated would be a rose, I found. But you know, these flowers with big petals are so much easier to draw, and really striking as well. You know, there's nothing wrong with drawing something simple. So with this, I'm just going to really focus on what way it's come out. For our final one. And again, not much material we've needed. We've needed a pencil, an eraser, but you can add watercolours, you can have colour pencils, you know, you can add practically anything really to make these come alive. And it's a great way to start observing wildlife, flowers. Go and have a look outside and see what's knocking about, what you can spot. Take some photographs. Just to add some light on there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It'll make nice little stationery or a little bullet journal. If you know what those are, to keep yourself organised, you can design it. Again, just keep adding and adding. Keep looking back to the image. There's some really cracking YouTube videos as well that you can find artists doing this method really. So if you wanted to keep having a go at this, there's definitely some stuff online there. If you just type in, you know, how to draw flowers, you'll be able to find some bullet journalers, and just a really nice simple technique. Oh, nearly forgot the stamen. Again, we've got put some little shading on those, make those stand out too. And you get to a point where you want to carry on messing with it, I think, but you know, sometimes You need to leave it alone, which might be a little bit difficult, but a little bit on these petals. And I'll just show you that ruffle again. So you'll have a petal that's potentially this shape. You'll see that. And just to add it so it looks like it's curled up, if you add one side to the other, got a lovely little curl there. And again, if we add some shade into this section, it's going to really help it to stand out. Just add a little bit of shade in here just to show you, give you the idea. And I'm just going to leave you with a couple of tips to do with your shading. So again, just flick towards you or flick away. You could even cross hatch, is what they call it when you put one line over another. So you can create darkness by just adding multiple layers of different directions of lines. This could be something that you try on your own. And you keep building up, and you can draw really fast, really quick, if that's how you like drawing. Right, quite a fast drawer, really. I like putting lots of lines in, being really quite expressionate. So you could draw this way. Another really nice way is to add dots. So if you add dots quite close to each other, it's going to look quite dark. And again, if you add them more sporadically, quite separated, it's going to get even more lighter and lighter. So you could practice with using these different methods and techniques to actually add shade. Just another little tip for you. So shall we revisit what we did? So we started off with the poppy, and again, these will look phenomenal if you've got them all on the same page. And so we looked at the shapes, we looked at poppies, different ways that they sit, how to add shading, designed a little bluebell, started off with the stem and drew some bell shapes, added little circles for those that are facing us. We did the cornflower, loads of scraggly triangles built up to create this lovely wildflower and very dark stem, so we could tell the difference. And then we finished off with the hibiscus. So we've not quite reached the 9 in the hours. I think I was being really ambitious, but I can always put the images online so you could see them. You don't forget that you could visit the NeuroLove webpage, and please tweet and share the work that you've done. That would be fantastic for us to see. I don't know if there is any chat in the comments. I think we was all okay there. So keep practicing, keep looking for wildflowers, keep allowing yourself to grow in places where you wouldn't. That's a lovely little quote about wildflowers. And hopefully that you'll find some more inspiration outside for you to draw to. So that's it from me for this session. If you've got any questions, then you can add them in the chat, or you can get in touch. It's at NeuroLove, I'm sure, on Twitter. So please feel free to get in touch with us there. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll see you next week for more drawing techniques. And we're going to look at around the house next week, just simple objects that we can find. Maybe we'll put some flowers in there too. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining me.